So let's think about it. So she's a Nazi apologist, a puppet of the West, someone who is advocating against war against an enemy of the United States on an interest in behalf of the United States and NATO. Who does that remind you of? She's the Vladimir Zelensky of Japan. Yeah. You want to know what else she had in common with Vladimir Zelensky?
Oh, what's this? She was a TV star too at some point, or she just did some karaoke here or something?
Damn, you guys know I was in lab cooking. The second I saw that she was selected as prime minister, I immediately was like, let me look into the chick. And just like Zelensky, and just like every single one of these puppet leaders, they always come from entertainment. And based on what you said with the world going against and leaving this imperialist mindset, that's why it's even wilder that the Japanese ruling class is doubling down on it. Because one of the reasons why I hint that Japanese is a heavily fascist culture is because, just like the United States, the people, their opinions are not represented. There are some people who got upset when I criticized Arab countries, and the same principle apply here. I am not criticizing the Japanese proletariat the same way I didn't criticize the proletariat in the Arab countries who are pro-Palestine, but who are led by Muslim Zionist leaders. The same applies to Japan. If you ask the average young Japanese politically minded person, they're actually base as fuck. They stand for Palestine. They apologize for Japanese war crimes in World War II. The younger Japanese generation is very cognizant of what their country has done to China, and they are very apologetic about it. Meanwhile, the far right party, the Nazi party, and what Sane Takaichi, what she believes that Japan did nothing wrong in World War II. This was the position of Shinzo Abe, which is why he is despised in China and despised by the Japanese Gen Z, because he was like, man, Japan should never apologize to China what we did. And I did streams. I know you talked about this on your show before as well. Like the war crimes that Japan did against China in World War II was some of the most barbaric, like the scientific experiments, the torture.
Unit 731.
It's one of the things I'm like, man, it's so dark to read. Meanwhile,
they tried to like reattach limbs to people. They would like cut off one guy's arm and see if they could attach a third arm to like transplant a third arm onto a Chinese patient. It was subject, let's say. It's just horrific stuff. It's just the face of fascism. It's horrifying.
I can't even describe the experiments that they did with Japanese women vaginas as well. It's too horrific to I don't like reading about this shit.
Chinese women and Korean.
Chinese, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Thank
you. They use chemical weapons. I was at this island off the coast of Japan, and it was on the maps at the time. Japan wouldn't even put the island on the maps, and it was where they produced all their chemical and biological agents. And they used them in China. They wouldn't use them against the West, except they may have actually tried to. If you read the work of Jeffrey Kay, he's a researcher in these areas. They may have actually sent some balloons to the U.S. to try to use some chemical warfare. But the point is, they used them against the Chinese, and they killed, the better part of 50,000 people with chemical and biological agents during World War II, and that's kind of swept under the rug by and large. So, this is a dark past that they are flirting with here. I don't know how much the younger. I don't have my finger on the pulse of the Japanese youth at all. I'm sure there are some that are as you're describing, and that maybe that is the sort of majority of the younger generations. But
I saw a report a few years ago
for them. Yeah.
I saw a report a few because I dived into this when Shinzo Abe died. Remember how Shinzo Abe was assassinated, and I went down a rabbit hole, and I discovered that Japanese Gen Z hated him because Japanese Gen Z are more culturally aware. They have access to information. They know what their government did, and it's weird in parallels because the Japanese right in their own culture, in their own way, they essentially call the Gen Z left. They're like, "Oh, you fucking woke pussies." We shouldn't apologize. It's the same parallel, the same way they smear our white allies who say we should pay reparations. The same white allies who are upset at the crimes of our empire. The right wing would say, "Oh, you fucking woke white guilt pussy." That's the same thing that the right wing of Japan does to the younger, more left wing Japanese people. And as someone who I never want to attack the proletariat of these countries. There's a lot of people think I do when I go out. That is not my intent. I'm going after the ruling class because these people are victims and they've been struggling to change their government forever. Uh, I went down this entire rabbit hole where they can't stand Shinzo Abe and these neo-Nazis. This guy here, I had this up on the screen. The new prime minister of Japan literally did Hitler apologia before. She posed with, I don't know that much about, I had to look this up. This person who is Kazumari Yamada, he apparently is part, I don't know if you know that much about this party. I got a Wikipedia up. That's why I'm according to Wikipedia, I'll just say that this party is a open neo-Nazi political party. They I was quickly skimming this before the show. They praise Adolf Hitler. I don't know exactly all the quotes, but essentially they do the standard neo-Nazi shit. They're not necessarily a super popular party in Japan, but they was very close with the prime minister though.
Yeah,
So
I mean, it seems the Japanese right is, part of the Japanese right, and I guess if you're part of the LDP tries to seem more respectable. They aren't typically as overtly
they're not this
hard
far
right.
right on.
But when you see these kinds of connections, and then you see how they're trying to do strange things about, not apologizing or addressing World War II crimes, and so on. It's very weird. I mean, as you're pointing out here in that part, they're like anti-Jewish, like they praise the September 11 attacks. It seems very convoluted philosophy if you're gonna be part of the Japanese right, which is kind of subordinated to the U.S., which is really very much under the sway of Zionist oligarchs. So it's kind of incoherent. But yeah, he seems to be a very slimy character that you would think that the Prime Minister of Japan would not want to be sitting next to, like American presidents don't want their pictures taken with David Duke, for example.
Yeah, isn't it explaining something how many parallels there actually are? Because Kazanari is like, I guess, like their Nick Fuentes.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like it might be about right.
Because Shinzo Abe and her party, they are more like the establishment Republican. Like they try to distance themselves from this crazy shit. But yeah. Shinzo Abe, and from when I dived into this, was a shift hard right for the party because a lot of people in the party always distance themselves from the Hitler apologia. And Shinzo, when his right of fame was like, man, I'm tired of you motherfucking pussies apologizing for Imperial Japan. Look it up. That was Shinzo's entire thing. And she is his mentee. She's someone who looks up to Shinzo Abe, and she has the same exact beliefs. So let's think about it. So she's a Nazi apologist, a puppet of the West, someone who is advocating against war against an enemy of the United States on the interest in behalf of the United States and NATO. Who does that remind you of? She's the Vladimir Zelensky of Japan. Yeah. You want to know what else she had in common with Vladimir Zelensky?
Oh, whoa, like, what's this? She was a TV star too at some point, or she just did some karaoke here or something?
Damn, you guys know I was in lab cooking. The second I saw that she was selected as prime minister, I immediately was like, let me look into the chick. And just like Zelensky, and just like every single one of these puppet leaders, they always come from entertainment. It never fails. And I would love to get your opinion on it, but I won't play the video. This is a video of the new prime minister of Japan singing on some sort of award show or whatever. So isn't it funny how the Western puppets always pick, the Western ruling class always pick their puppets based on who are the best actress or singer? Here's a little bit of it. Here's the prime minister of Japan. What's the one of that Zelensky video?
That's so weird.
So I'm sure there's an analysis there somewhere about why the Western ruling class always like to choose these people who are too ugly and untalented to become famous in Hollywood.
Well, I mean, we had Ronald Reagan, who was an actor.
Exactly.
Donald Trump was really a reality star. He was no kind of political thinker or figure. Exactly. This is just I mean, people should go back and watch Idiocracy. I think, and sort of
Exactly.
laugh and cry because the spectacle is all that there really is, and it's if you don't have any real substance or any honest argument to make about how you're going to improve people's lives, I guess you just have to dazzle them with that what some sort of media glitz or something. I mean, not even like Trump. I guess he has a certain kind of charisma for some people. I always thought he seemed sort of silly, uh,
Me too. Me too.
so, but this is I think a late capitalism pseudo democracy, the last days of the democratic facade. I
Yep.
feel that this is what we've been living through in the 21st century. It's really, yeah, it's
Yep.
insane. It's
I think that's the
insanity.
on point analysis of what this is. This is what the face of the new ruling class is. They pick these puppets. Go back to my earlier analysis. They need an entertainer, a puppet, just like Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, it's the
I see how they
new
follow.
mask of the ruling class, let's say, because the
Yeah, I
face
think
of
that's a
it
good
is
way to put it.
obscure. But I know what you mean.
Yeah, that's
And
that's a good way to put it.
having the richest man in the world as a Zionist who's going to buy up all the media, it's like if you would have talked about that decades ago, it'd sound like some anti-Semitic conspiracy. Say, oh, the richest man in the world wants to buy all the social media sites in order to brainwash people so that they accept greater Israel and the glory of Zionism and the extermination of the Palestinians. That sounds like some David Duke conspiracy theory or something. But it's like this is the richest man in the world is a Zionist billionaire who wants to own all the media to brainwash everybody so that they'll be cool with genocide. I mean, what, this is what's happening.
So I'm calling her. I'm calling her the female Zelensky. Like,
Yeah, I don't know that she could
that's,
do that move though. That's pretty high level.
hey boy, that boy Zelensky throwing it back, son. This boy
Yeah,
throwing this shit back. Exactly. These are the people that the West love.
I know you probably at some point, if you do enough cocaine, you can do that move. That's what I've heard. It's very high level move.
On point, Aaron. But you gotta see the point I'm making. That all these fake ass Western puppets that are you, they all coming from entertainment. They all they throw it back like Zelensky. I can show you guys some more clips. I just found this quickly while Aaron was speaking. There's so many clips of Zelensky being a fucking clown. This is why he was chosen, fam. And like you mentioned earlier before, Donald Trump, he was on The Apprentice. Oh
Yeah,
man,
how
that's
did you
our
do that?
president.
How did you do
Our
that to
president's like
our
a
great
Stone Cold
leader?
Stunner.
Yeah.
Like, come on, that's horrific selling, Donald. That's horrific. Come on, man, you gotta sell the Stunner better than that,
I don't
man.
think he's especially athletic in his prime, and he was probably in his 50s by then. So,
I just think it's a
yeah,
funny point. I think it's a funny point as all.
yeah,
This be last thing I'll cover, and then we begin to wrap up because, like I said before, the Japanese youth is actually based on what I've seen, just like the United States. Japanese youth is somewhat progressive for their society. Just like the majority of the global population, they stand for Palestine. Like
yeah.
I've seen Japanese pro-Palestine protests ever since I covered the topic. It's always been a thing that I've always seen. But you want to know what the official position of the government is? During a time where Israel was committing a genocide, during a time where even France, the UK, and Canada was acknowledging a Palestinian state, Japan did not.
Yeah.
You want to know why? Because the ruling party, they are diehard Zionists as well. Here's Japan.
Well, they just do whatever the
refusing.
U.S. says. They do whatever the U.S. tells them.
Yeah, that too. I think that's why they're hardcore Zionists. I think
Yeah.
that's the point that everybody need to accept. Here's a clip of Japan speaking on the issue of Palestine. We'll begin to wrap up after this because I just want to emphasize the disconnect between the average Japanese person and their ruling class, which exists in capitalist society. This is what happens. Like no matter how your personal feeling about these countries, when you look at China, when you look at Russia, they massively approve of their leaders, of Vladimir Putin, of Xi Jinping. In Japan, they are not getting anything they want, and they can't stand the ruling party. If you guys look into it, the young people hate the current politicians, but they have no say because Japan is just like us, is an old society, a rapidly aging society where the youth, their voice is completely fucking shot out. And now, anyway, let me play the video and we can begin to wrap up.
国際社会ではパレスチナ国家承認の機運が高まっています。 これを受け、我が国としてどのように対応すべきか、何が我が国が一貫して支持する二国家解決の実質的な進展に資するのかといった観点から政府内でこれまで熟議を重ねてまいりました。その結果、日本政府としては今回の国連総会のタイミングではパレスチナ国家承認を
Government has
行
decided
う
not
こと
to
はしない
recognize the state of Palestine at the UN. Like, do you know how fucked you have to be behind Canada and the UK and France on this? But like you said, Aaron, you're 100% right. And this is the point I am emphasizing. Japan is not a sovereign state. They don't have any real choice on the matter. This is the position that the United States tells them to take, and they will do that exactly, despite what the people say. I found this video, and I think this is hilarious. They kind of show just how passionate the Japanese people are about freeing Palestine. I think this video is base as hell. There's this Japanese guy who shows up at the Israeli embassy in Japan every single damn day, ever since the beginning of the genocide, screaming "Free Japan." Check this video out, guys. He does this every day, apparently.
ダメだ。こちらにちゃんとした決められた場所がありますので。
What a fucking Chad. That's a man who deserves his own anime. I'll watch that 100%. But anyway, I think we begin to wrap up here. Aaron, I'm going to give you any final thoughts regarding the situation that Japan put them in. You guys know I like to have a lot of fun in my analysis, but I'm going to call the new Japanese prime minister the Japanese Zelensky. I think that's how I'm going to describe her from now on. Compare the position of Japan to the position of a free country, of a country that is not ruled by the United States. And this is why the Zionists lied to you about North Korea so much. Compare this to Japan. Israeli-North Korean relations are very hostile. North Korea does not recognize Israel, denouncing it as an imperialist satellite. They never acknowledge Israel. This is why they want you to hate North Korea, why they want you to love Japan uncritically. That's my final thoughts. Aaron, anything else you want to add before we begin to wrap up the stream? It was a great stream, man. There were a lot of thought-provoking things you added to this discussion, and I appreciate it. It was great to have you on, man.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate this and having the platform to speak to your audience. And with Japan, it's not been a sovereign country since it was defeated, soundly defeated in World War II. The atomic bombs were more of a pretext, but it was a vicious thing that we did to nuke that country. It didn't really serve any military objective. And then we foisted this right-wing dictatorship, not dictatorship, but a sort of quasi top-down system on them. And they eventually need to take control of their own country and become a sovereign country. And I think that will happen eventually, but for now they're going to have to weather some probably terrible economic policies. I hope that they don't remilitarize and change their constitution to allow them to become a full-on militarist power again. But I think that things may change more rapidly before that could even be brought to bear anywhere. So I'm just hoping that Japan and the rest of the world doesn't get blown up in some big conflagration started by the U.S. And if people want to follow my political and historical analysis, the American Exception podcast on Patreon is the place to find most of my work. And we do have a documentary film coming out soon based on my dissertation. So I have many, many hours of discussions about the dark side of the clandestine world of the American deep state, the U.S. empire, and all the crimes that they're committing and have committed and continue to commit. So people can follow my work if they like this kind of analysis. But again, thanks, Nick, for having me on.